Hi, everyone. Okay, so I am still apparently not doing so well with Instagram. Um, there's supposed to be a way that I can just have this record, and it's not recording. I have to just hold on to it. Okay, so if I drop off of Instagram, you'll know why. So, what a perfect way to start talking about fear. One of the things that has held me back in my life is definitely fear. And my fear of my inabilities with technology has really been something that has held me back both in life, but more so in business. So it took me so long to be willing to do these videos. And honestly, I think the issue was just fear of my abilities. I'm great. Hi, Susan. Love, love, love. So I am actually great at being on camera. I did a lot of that when I was teaching at the university. But my being able to, hey, Bex, oh my gosh, and Bex, Becky and Becky, how exciting. Oh, miss you guys so much. So it's not the fear of being on camera. It's not the fear of being goofy on camera, because obviously I'm comfortable with that. But it was the fear of not doing the right thing. So, for example, not knowing how to go live on Facebook, not knowing how to go live on Instagram without holding the danged button down the whole time. And I know Brittany Hiller, well, she's on an airplane right now, so she's not going to pop in today. But I know she taught me how, so she's going to just have to teach the old dog again. So I'm joking around about fear, but honestly, this is something that held me back a lot. And my fear of technology has really held me back a lot in my business altogether. So that is something I have been working on. I've been working on it for the past not quite a year. I decided to take the leap and do better. Hey, Allie, aren't you guys packing to go? All right, you and I need to have a video chat later because I want to know what's going on with your move. But I decided I'm just going to jump in with 2 feet. And I'm a good swimmer. So, hey, sink or swim, I was pretty sure I was going to swim. Now, I am doggy paddling a little bit, but that's okay because my chin is still above water. And I have learned how to reach out to others for help. And that is one of the most important things to do when talking about fear and how to overcome our fears and fear holding us back in life. So before I get into that and the tips I have for overcoming your fears in life, I want to talk about another part of fear. And that is something that I learned, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's using fear as an acronym. Oh my gosh, Kelly Trent, long time no see. Talk about a brave woman. Kelly Trent is one of the bravest women I know. Hi, thanks for jumping on, Kelly. Your comments, hey y'all, your comments are all welcome. So, using fear as an acronym. FEAR. False evidence appearing real. So what exactly does that mean? Well, this is the tool I use to figure out the difference between real fears and things I really need to be conscientious about and conscious of, but also how to alleviate fear that I don't need to be having. So false evidence appearing real. Hey, Laura, good to see you. So how do we do that? How do we differentiate between something that we really need to be conscientious of, fears that are real and we need to take conscious steps to alleviate our fears about them? I am going to talk about real fear, real things, and how to deal with those fears next week. But this week, I'm going to talk about, well, how do we differentiate? And I like to use the parable of the paper tigers. So this is something that's part of my coaching program. I use it all the time with my clients. It's a book that I read many, many years ago. I read it in graduate school, something I pulled off of the Help self-help section of the bookstore. And it's just a parable about how when we're walking through the forest of life, just like as if we were walking through a forest in India, there might be tigers. And those are real tigers. But a lot of times they're paper tigers. And that is particularly true in the forest of life. The things that we see as, this is not recording, the things that we see as real tigers are often paper tigers. So honestly, that was strikeout number 3 on Instagram video. I'm thinking that maybe I should give up Instagram video. I don't know. I'm going to wait for Brittany to get back from California. She can help me again. So how do we figure out false evidence appearing real? Well, we have to think about what we are afraid of, and we have to look at it up close. That's the point about figuring out the paper tiger. Now, of course, we don't want to get too close to a real tiger, but you can approach. You want to approach the fears and look at the fear from all sides, because guess what? When you get to the sides of the fear, when you get behind the fear, and to me, that's the real key. The key is getting to the behind view of the fear. Then you can tell if it is something that is a real fear or something that you don't need to be worried about. So, for example, let's just use the lighthearted example of my fear of technology. So that is actually a paper tiger, because the technology stuff, yeah, I screw up on Instagram. So what? And that's kind of one of the keys to the paper tigers, is to just be able to laugh and say, so what? Because people are going to go, well, she kind of sucks at that. And it's okay, because people that matter to me, people who are part of my Peaceful Living Warrior tribe, I hope you guys don't mind that I call you that, my Peaceful Living Warrior tribe, those people are not going to hold it against me, because they know how good my heart is. They know how smart my mind is. And they know that if I screw up, it's okay, right? So that is a paper tiger. And that's how we want to look at the things that we are fearing in life. Now, next week, we will talk about real tigers. We will talk about big things like if you need to jump ship from a job. We will talk about real things like fears that go on in our relationships. We will talk about real things like social anxiety, because sometimes social anxiety is a real tiger. But for today, let's talk about how social anxiety can be a paper tiger and how to deal with that. And I think that's a really good way to make this a real topic for people, because a lot of people have social anxiety. My daughter just popped in with a text. Talk about a person who has social anxiety, and she knows that she does. So she is the classic example of something that is what seems to be a real fear that she just doesn't have to be afraid of. Now, what if you are somebody who has social anxiety? I'm a super extrovert, but even I can get anxiety going into, let's say, big networking situations, big groups where I have to meet people. I get absolutely no anxiety standing up in front of a crowd. I used to lecture to 400 freshmen at a time. Not a problem. But sometimes going into a networking meeting and having to meet new people and talk about myself, it can be nerve-wracking. Well, what can you do with those paper tigers? Because we do have tools that we can use for that. So, for example, if you are in a social situation, you can have some catchphrases that you use. Small talk. But I like to encourage people to use something beyond small talk. Use what I call real talk. Be interested in the people you're meeting. So let's say you're just at a party but it's a party with a lot of people you don't know. Maybe you're going with your spouse and it's his, I have all women on here, his, well, actually, or her these days. Yay for that. Yay for her as a spouse. His workplace, and you don't know these people. Hi, Trista, nice to see you. And you need to be able to talk to these people. Well, try to be that person that is interested in the other people. Ask them about themselves. What do they do for a living? What do they like to do? Hey, have they been on any cool trips lately? And you can do the same thing in networking, especially with what do you do for a living? What's your business all about? So don't talk about the weather. Talk about real stuff. And I even have some clients that they write their catchphrases on index cards or in their phone, and they review them. They review them before they go into the social situation. So that's very helpful. Another strategy you can use for social anxiety is what I call finger tapping. Now, I love to use breath work to relax, but sometimes people don't want to go into a social situation and be breathing. Right? So you can do that before you go in, but you don't want to do that in the middle of the meeting. You can still use nice deep breaths while you're in the social situation. But hey, Nellie Ramos, you've never jumped in before. Good to see ya. But I have a little device I use called my hand. And what I do is when I get nervous, let me move this over into the camera so you can see me, is I do a finger tap. And it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 1. Now, of course, I don't hold it up in front of my face. I'm doing that so you can see my hand will be down by my side, but there's something very rhythmic about that finger tapping. You actually have to attach your mind to it. So I'm tapping my fingers as I'm talking to be able to do it, but it works with something in your neurotransmitters to help you to relax and take your mind off of your anxiety. Okay, so what did we talk about today? We talked about false evidence appearing real and how we are going to look behind. Oh, Rachel! Oh, so good to see you. I'm just about to end, but I'm talking about how to let go of fear. So false evidence appearing real, how to differentiate between real fears and paper fears, paper tigers, by getting behind what's going on. Hi, Becky. And then some strategies to use when you have some paper tiger fears. So we talked about social anxiety. We talked about how to use these few techniques to alleviate your social anxiety. We also talked about how sometimes it's just about jumping in with 2 feet and saying, hey, I might have to doggy paddle for a little while, but I will be okay. And that in and of itself gives you a sense of being empowered. It gives you a sense of strength. Hey, Tanya, I'm just wrapping up here. So I'm going to use that as a way to close out what we're talking about today and to let you know that I will be covering all of this in my blog. It's not coming out this week. It's going to come out next week. So I will be posting on Facebook. It'll go out in my email list. If you are not a part of my email list, please join me. You can do that anywhere on peacefullivingwellness.com. And as a bonus, you get my top 5 tips for peaceful living. How awesome is that, right? Anyway, but I'll be posting, and I'll be talking about this again next week. I'm buried under the GDPR right now. I thought it didn't apply to me, and apparently there are people in my Facebook group who are, I will, Rachel, give your girl a squish for me too. There are people in my Facebook group who are in Europe, so I'm scrambling to get caught up on my GDPR policy, and so that's why I posted a blog earlier this week, Being Brave About Body Image, that went with last week's Facebook Live, and this week at the end of the week, probably tomorrow, Friday at the latest, I'll be posting the blog. No, I lied. Next week by Thursday or Friday, I'll be posting the blog on fear. So thank you so much for joining me, you guys. It's so good to see so many of you from California that I miss. And please leave your comments, read the blog, leave your comments on the blog. It means so much to me to have you here and to have your comments. So thank you, and may the blessings of this day follow you through your week. Namaste.